and study those who are successful, because those who are successful leave clues for us to utilize. You know what I mean? I started learning like about eliminating self-doubt, like you know, blame. I would tell my younger self to not blame my parents for not doing this or somebody. You know what I mean? Because a lot of us will come up with our own obstacles. And when I found out that my only competition was myself, that's when I started to excel and started to hit corners a little more easier.
Yo, what up, It's your boy Rubino.
And this DJ in the building.
And you listening to the UpNUp Podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we doing?
I don't know, just listen.
Yes. Welcome.
What it do?
Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into the UpNUp Podcast on the UpNUp Network. I'm your host, Rubino.
And I'm DJ man.
What's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Feeling good. Feeling great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Me too,
You know
man.
what I mean? Yeah.
That makes two of us. That makes more of us, actually. I'm pretty sure everybody here is feeling good, feeling great. I'm feeling blessed. You know me,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Always blessed. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome to this show. As I stated, this is the UpNUp Podcast. This is the podcast where we're focused on cultivating culture, right?
Yep.
We do that by providing amazing stories of individuals, groups, movements, the hustlers, the shakers, right? Those who are breaking down barriers, taking up space in a lot of different industries, right?
Yep.
And they're really making a way, not only for all of us who are still here, but for the next generation, right?
Yes, sir.
Putting it down, man. I'm super excited. Definitely want to shout out the first-time listeners. Welcome to the family. And by family, you know, we got to shout out the family members, right? That's the consistent viewers, listeners, supporters of the movement. Salute to you guys. We love you guys. We thank you guys. Shout out to y'all.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, man. On that note, I am feeling good, bro. I'm feeling great. I love being able to come in here. You know, a lot of times this type of content, this form of content can kind of seem somewhat repetitive, right? But in our case, it's not. You know, we get the privilege to come in here and really be able to dive into journeys and stories of, I'll call these people culture cultivators for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And today's guest, I would say, is definitely a brother whose work and contributions in the world of fashion, streetwear, and culture has really connected in a way that makes nostalgia forever relevant, right? And really necessary for the future. He's definitely a culture cultivator who's keeping everything he's doing on the up and up, right? A little bit of insight on the brother. He's the owner and operator of the Pacific Northwest staple and legendary home for fashion, streetwear, vintage, Throwbacks Northwest, right? If you know, you know, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't, please get familiar.
Yeah.
Right? You will get familiar.
Yeah.
A little bit more, just to go a little bit more deeper on what that means, especially for this region, you know, with decades of expertise, you know, and contributions. His work kind of speaks for itself, really, right? And in true fashion, the nostalgia they provide is not only preserving history, but it's really keeping memories and moments protected, right?
Yeah.
And he's doing it through fashion, through culture, right? And then through these pieces. And we're excited to learn more about his journey, the road he's been on.
Yeah.
We're honored to have him in the building. So let's just get straight to him, man. Our guest is none other than the good brother himself, Rio Estolas. Can we get a round of applause?
Yeah.
Give it up.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you so much, man. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. I appreciate you, and I like the way you said that.
Yeah.
It was very elegant. Thank you, man.
Man. You know, what do I always say, bro? I say every good album needs a good intro.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
But definitely pleasure to have you. Got it locked in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Pleasure to be here, for sure. Sure.
Man. How you feeling? How's the day treating you?
I'm good. I'm blessed as well, man. I'm blessed up. You know what I mean? A lot of crazy things going on in the world, but you know what I mean? Thankful to be alive. Thankful to wake up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Glad to be here, like I said.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That part.
Yeah.
So I don't know how familiar you are with the show, brother, but what we always do is start every show with a quote of the day.
Okay.
Right?
Dope.
Something to get the vibe right, get the convo started. Brother man he's the man of the quotes.
Yes, sir.
What you got for us today, man?
The quote of the day today is, "Success is not the absence of failure. It's the persistence through failure." Yeah.
Okay.
I love that.
Yeah. That's a good one.
That's really good. That resonates with me a lot. I was just thinking about that specifically. Something kind of like I feel like relates to that is like how we need to fail more. You know what I mean? Like the youth specifically, I feel like need to know that it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
Like some of the most successful people have failed many times.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's so I was feeling that quote.
Yeah,
That's a good
yeah, I
one.
feel you, man.
Who's that quote by the way?
Aisha Tyler. She's an actress.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
dope. That's
Yeah,
dope.
yeah,
That's
so.
dope.
I like that. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
man.
like that point too. I think I heard Will Smith say he's like, you got to fail forward, you know, and I think it's really not a failure; it's a lesson. You know what I mean?
It
But
really-
it's
really
all
is.
perspective based. I think you
Mhm.
gotta fail enough to understand that, though. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Yeah. But again, I feel like a lot of people just might be kind of scared. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
To just take that first step.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, I had a bunch of shops before the current shop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you know, that was a part of the journey. And yeah, like it's a lesson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how we respond to those lessons
That's real.
is how we get here.
That's real.
Mhm.
You know what
That's
I mean?
real. So Rio, man. So obviously you're familiar. Our show is really about diving into people's journeys and really kind of learning about the paths they've been on. But before we get into your journey, I am just curious, you know, with the current chapter we're in right now, it's 2023. We were just talking about before the show how fast the year has been moving, but like, how would you describe kind of the current chapter you're in right now? Like just present day, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. It's man, a lot of work the last couple of years. It's like it's just an everyday thing. You know what I mean? Being present in the day-to-day working. Like you said earlier when we were talking, it's just like time is just moving by. I think because it's just like getting up and working on, you know, constant projects, a bunch of different projects, being consistent, and man, a lot of times it's like we don't get enough time to celebrate like
That's real.
all the projects. It's
That's
like
real.
I'm trying to like remember sometimes like all the projects that we actually did this last year. You know what I mean? But it's like we just keep working, and it's been working doing it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thankfully. But no, things are good, man. I'd thankfully have to say the best they ever been this year in the business, despite like so much that's been going on in the last few years. And, you know, going back to before I moved to the current location, you know, there was times when like a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So very thankful to be doing as well as I am in the current climate, and you know, getting through COVID and protest situations. But yeah, no, things are good, man.
Great space.
We just keep moving, keep working.
Yeah.
And you know, we'll see.
Sounds like a real like just space of gratitude.
For real.
It is. I'm feeling that more than ever. Also, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like as I mature, certain things are more important than others. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's real.
At one time, I was like, man, I'm just trying to have the dopest spot, trying to like, you know, take on every project. Now it's like learning what to say no to. You know what I mean? Because it's like our time is so valuable. The only thing, you know what I mean? One of the most valuable commodities that we have is our time.
That's
so
real.
it's how do we use that
That's real.
on a day-to-day basis? And that's something that like early on, you know what I mean? What kind of helped me, you know what I mean? Utilizing the plan on a day-to-day, you know what I mean? Having things lined up, knowing what you're gonna do. And again, like starting out, it's like, you know, just taking steps daily to get to wherever you want to go to. It's been something that helped me personally, but
That's dope.
That's dope, bro. So let's take it back a little bit. Let's talk about like your upbringing, your early life, early influences. You know, just elaborate on that a little bit.
For sure. Man, it's been such a long journey to think back really like where it all kind of started. It really was really early on. I was telling somebody recently that like, man, I was like 5 years old and I was like having an imaginary flea market in my backyard when I was like 5. Like, so I'm like already thinking about like market and clothing, you know what I mean, from like a super young age. So my dad, when I was like that age, would take me to all these flea markets like in California, like in Oakland, San Jose, all through the Bay Area. That's where I'm originally from. So I would go to all these markets, and just learn the value of old things in general from like a very early age. And then kind of was like also into gear from like, had an older brother, had an older sister. They were pretty into fashion at different times. And I was like always kind of like, that just was around me. I was just like born into it. And then like, being young, growing up into hip hop, like hearing like when I heard like the first hip hop song, when I see like my brother's friend holding this box on his shoulder, and I'm like super young. That's like my earliest like, memory of like when I think of inspiration and like what like from the very beginning. Like really, I was into music early, in high school. For a long time, and was in a group, and we mostly did music at home. You know what I mean? Was super into it, was super passionate. That was like the love at the time. And then I had my son. My son's 19 now, and I had a son at like 28. Sorry, I feel like I'm kind of moving around now.
No,
it's all good, bro.
Good.
But trying to tell the story, you know what I mean? So I was doing music, and then like I guess I was always into gear. Backtracking on that,
it sounds like you were just surrounded by it. Like a lot of times, like you kind of have to go looking for the things that
right.
But it's like seems like you were just in the mix of everything.
I really was. Thankfully, that's like I was surrounded by it. Late 70s, early 80s, to late 80s. Growing up in San Francisco, so much culture, so much diversity around me. You know what I mean? And also like the city of like hustle. You know what I mean? So that was kind of like embedded from an early age.
I'm also curious. I was reading an article that you were interviewed on, and you did mention your sister and your dad and how they were into the vintage space or whatnot. But I also read that they were actually selling vintage as well, right?
Yep.
At one point. So can you talk about like what that meant for you at that age and like?
Yeah, I just like me being super young, it's just something that I had to do. Like I had to go to the market at 5 a.m. With my dad. He was like, I just had to. I didn't have a choice. You know what I mean? So I was just like, but going so frequently, I started to learn the value of like what this is. My first piece that I actually flipped and sold, I was like 8 years old. I actually bought a lowrider bike and then sold the steering wheel off the lowrider bike for like more than the bike cost. So that was like literally the first thing I ever sold.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's cold.
It's like I didn't even know about like
it's a hustler right there.
Vintage really, or like hustling. It's just what was like around me and what was going on. And so, that was just at one point I was selling women's purses just because I knew how to do that
and the value of it,
and that was the hustle. You know what I mean? Because my sister sells like more women's stuff. She was selling like furs and collectibles, and like I was around that too. So just got all that knowledge, you know what I mean, from a very early age. And like you said, it was just kind of around me, and it's just what I was born into. And then moving on, I just kind of always been into gear, and just inspired by all the hip hop music that was around me and that I was really into. And like when I moved up here, it was like a lot of people would be like, where did you get that? Where did you get that jacket? Where'd you get that shirt? You know what I'm saying? Where'd you get? And I used to do a lot of my gear came from like places in San Francisco, and they didn't have like gear like that available up here. Moving on, trying to think back, like people would come to my house and like borrow gear, you know what I'm saying, in high school. It's just like always been like into gear. You know what I'm saying?
That was an era though. I don't know if kids still do that. Do they still?
Yeah, I wonder, right?
I remember I used to just. I don't even think I kept some of my stuff for longer than maybe a few months. So I'm like, yo, let's trade. I'm trading all day. You know,
that's dope. No, I wish I had some of that stuff still, but I didn't really keep. You know what I mean? That stuff from high school.
Yeah.
But to get back, I guess to the starting of when like the business started. You know what I mean? First thing was like, okay, I'm just buying and selling stuff, just wherever I could.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I'm going to barbershops on the weekend, pulling up from like Everett to the Central District to the South End, and I got shoes in the trunk. I got jerseys in the trunk. That I was doing that pretty consistent for quite a while, and then like started having like places where I could have racks in barbershops. You know what I mean? So that's like that goes like way back. You know what I'm saying? First shop I actually ever had was in 2004 called Officials Urban Clothing.
Okay.
Carried like LRG, Fat Farm,
Throwbacks.
Rockaware, Eve's Line, Fetish.
You had the goods, bro.
Yeah, and I was like, it's still learning, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like I went to Vegas, try to figure out how to get accounts over there at the Magic Show, and all along, you know what I mean? I had been working full time, you know what I mean? I had like another job, but I did like a 4 12-hour days, and then worked the other 3 in the shop, and had like a partner. The crazy thing is I actually wanted to do vintage at the time, like in 2004.
Okay.
But my partner didn't want to do vintage because it wasn't popping as much. You know what I mean? It was still kind of like frowned upon.
I think we were looking for the new wave more so than trying to preserve.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because the way not to cut you off, but I really feel
It's
like
all good.
I feel like when you come out of an era like the '90s, you kind of have to live in the next era just a little bit more longer. And then the vintage kind of kicks in, you know?
For sure.
Yeah, it's crazy how it always like comes back. You know, you kind of see like old styles like slowly coming. It feels like it's almost like a cycle in a way. You know what I mean? Like now the like old school kind of baggy 90s steps kind of starting to creep back in the mix a little bit. You know,
It really is. It really is.
Yeah,
it really is.
So take us through that, because I'm curious, bro. Like to do what you were doing at that time, and I remember I was younger at that time, but I do remember like seeing folks such as yourself who were selling that type of merchandise. Like now it's like you can, create an online store, you can sell through social media, and like it's not the same. Take us through kind of like the mentality and the hustle that you had at that time to like balance, your full-time job and still do that.
Yeah,
like,
it's
what kind of seeds did that plant, do you think?
Man, just a different work ethic. I feel like, man, and even yeah, man, trying to think. Yeah, different times. I'm thinking about the music too. When I think you maybe got me in my head for a second.
Yeah,
I'm like we had to figure out like how to use this equipment. We couldn't look online. We couldn't look on Google.
Yeah,
there's no, I got another flashback. I actually had a page in the Yellow Book, advertisement that was like half a page. You know what I mean?
That's big time
to do promo. That was
that's big time.
That was like my first promo.
Yeah,
like in a telephone book, and then like one of the first publications was actually C-Spot, Kun Love.
Oh yeah.
Had a little. My first thing was actually dejaneiro.com. It was a website. It said dejaneiro.com, urban clothing, music. Urban clothing, fashion, and music, something like that. I don't even know. You know what I mean? Something like that. But that was like my first little like official like business thing. You know what I mean? Was like the website.
Yeah.
And then got the storefront, like I said, in 2004. But had to cater. Had to get out there. I mean, we had to actually do flyers. You know what I mean? Had multiple mix CDs. DJ Supreme did a mix CD for us at that time. You know what I mean? And this other cat, Hijack, we made like a bunch of copies. We'd go out to like Summer Jam, push the copies with the website on it. We're out there pushing CDs.
Yeah.
That was a whole other lifetime, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like people ask me about this, and I don't go back as far as I'm going right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But well, I just think it's a lost art because it still translates. Because the hustle's the hustle.
For sure.
Right? Things are probably way easier now than it was then. So for those who were able to kind of develop during those times, it makes some of these things that we go through now like kind of like a breeze.
Right. It's benefits. I mean, positives and negatives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To like what's going on now. I mean, the negative. I mean, is like everything is out there. The game is just like exposed more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like a little more saturated.
Before it was like in the Bay, it's like there's a saying like the game is sold, not told. You know what I mean? But it's like it's more exposed, and like people, whatever they're doing, they're videoing it. So it's like going,
Yeah.
my older sister would like tell me, don't tell them about this spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
there'd be like little under spots or like
Yeah.
little treasure chest
Yeah.
places or like even markets. You know
Like
what
a
I mean?
rite of
Like,
passage, kind of.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel that.
It's like a plug, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like a plug. Yeah. Basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I was just gonna say, like, because you were talking about like nowadays and stuff. So nowadays, all the information is kind of like somebody could just Google search and stuff. So how are you really like? Where were you? I guess seeking information. You know what I'm saying? Or like, oh, I need to structure this stuff this way. Like, where, like, like where were you really going to seek out information? Really?
And really, hitting the pavement and trying to go to as many events as possible. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Actually meeting brands, going to places that brands were.
Mm-hmm.
I found some like old paperwork the other day, and I have lists of like every clothing line. You know what I mean? From like all the urban clothing lines from like the early '90s, Fat Farm, Pelly Pell. It was like a challenge to like talk to some of these people or get into a room with them because they had to be somewhere. You know what I mean? So like going to events, going to shows. You know what I mean? There'd be like specific events in like a hotel where like different brands set up and things like that, and you go and meet people. But again, more just like out in the field.
Yeah.
Like I said, hitting the pavement and actually just getting out there.
Yeah.
And you couldn't just look it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I feel you because even my brother, he used to go to all the, like the Mecca outlets and stuff like that, like back in the day. So I don't know, it's kind of just taking me back when you're talking about like actually hitting the pavement and like pulling up to these places. You know what I mean? So
that's dope. Yeah. Speaking of that, I used to go out there to the Mecca outlet and get bags of gear.
Yeah.
Used to resell that too.
Yeah.
The Mecca warehouse was out in Kent.
A lot of this stuff that we're speaking about is very foundational too. You know what I mean?
It really is. Yeah.
Very, very foundational. I'm curious though. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the transition into Throwbacks Northwest, because I think if anybody grew up out here, they know that brand. It's a staple, right? But for you to, I guess, approach at the time and say, hey, I want to add value to this and maybe take it to another level and continue the legacy. Like, can you take us through that process a little bit? What that was like for you?
For sure. So I was telling you earlier, technically my other shop started in the back room of Throwbacks Northwest.
Okay.
About around 2008, like the end of 2008, I walked in there, started chopping it up with the original owner of Throwbacks, and I was started off selling consignment and was just selling a ton of my stuff, and his employees was like, everything he's bringing in is so dope, all just nothing but fire, and I was like selling a ton of my stuff on a consignment deal. Nobody was even really doing consignment. Like I actually created the consignment agreement. The only people that I knew of that was doing consignment was Flight Club.
Okay. Oh yeah.
From New York with shoes. And so I kind of got that idea from that, to be honest. Anyways, I was doing consignment. That was popping. Then he was like, man, you're selling so much shit. You might as well like rent part of the spot.
Yeah.
So I started renting the back room of Throwbacks for like $500 a month. Was just renting out the back room. And then, did that for a while. Still, like I said, had another full-time gig. Decided to go and get my own shop. You know what I mean? Opened up Officials Vintage. First spot was in Fremont area.
Okay.
Was there for about 3 years. Then moved back to Capitol Hill, above 35th North skate shop. I had a little spot in there.
Okay.
And that was like another 3 years. So from 2010 to 2017, I had Officials Vintage.
Okay.
2017, Throwbacks previous owner Mark approached me if I wanted to buy Throwbacks. So basically worked that deal. I was working at a corporate job. Been 15 years there. I'd already been like in those like the last couple of months that I was at that corporate job. I was like, if I could work this hard for somebody else, like how I'm doing, I know it could work if I do it for myself. You know what I'm saying? So I bought the shop, put everything I had into that to get the shop, took the leap, left the good benefits, the cushion, what I mean, and took a chance to go 100 with the business. And thankfully, you know what I mean, was able to like bring it to another level. My first year brought up sales from the previous year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was printing out reports on, I had the record of what the shop had done like previous years. I was printing out like daily reports of what on this day was done last year, and we try to beat that. You know what I mean? Every single day. So we'd print that at the beginning of the day and be like, we got to beat these numbers. You know what I mean? And so that was the first year, and was able to beat the previous year's numbers.
Yeah.
And then fast forward through got COVID hit, then Chop hit. We're like right in the middle of Chop.
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
And it was really challenging. I actually had around that time opened up another spot in Tacoma, All Star Vintage.
Okay.
In Tacoma.
I'm familiar with that as well. Yeah.
And which is still like my family, my partners in Tacoma. Opened a spot out there, and it was a part of that time I almost started to focus more on Tacoma because it was just like it was kind of rough. You know what I mean? What was going on?
Yeah.
And COVID and everything, and rent's not easy, right? It's more expensive in that area.
Yeah.
But stuck with it, stayed open during a time when a lot of people weren't. You know what I mean? Never cleared out the store.
Yeah, I'm actually curious because you touched on some things that I think definitely stick out, and I think can help those listening and viewing who may be in similar situations where they're probably in a position where they're working a job, and it's not that they dislike their job, but it's just like they want to do more. And I think what you've kind of described was, okay, even though I'm not where I ultimately want to be, whatever time I do have, I'm going to put it towards what I want to do, right? Because it seems like no matter what, you were still in it. You were still developing your skill set to the point that eventually when the opportunity came, it was as if like, I've been working for this. You know what I mean? Can you talk about just the importance of, I guess, maximizing your time and energy?
Yeah.
In those type of situations?
For sure. Super critical. I mean, especially when you're put, your back's against the wall. You gotta keep getting up every single day. You know what I mean? Like people aren't coming into the store when like they're scared to come to the store, or COVID, we can't even have the doors. It's like you got to figure out like how do we do this? You know what I mean? If it's like selling hemp, what is it? What was the CBD?
Yeah.
That was like a little loophole during COVID.
Yeah.
Like if you sold CBD, because it's like for health and wellness, your store could still be open.
Yeah.
So like we even started doing that, like at the Tacoma shop, to keep the doors open.
That's
like
that pivoting right
during COVID. So it's like, and then immediately got on the IG Live and started doing like sales on IG Live, doing like planned shows every week, having guests on, just anything, even talking about COVID with different people, anything to get interactions, and share resources with other people. Yeah, is I feel like super vital.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? However you can work with people that are around you, and utilize resources. When you're in those positions. And again, like it's just adaptability. And like, I mean, remaining focused really, you know what I mean? Not freaking out, not allowing the self-doubt to kick in. Cause if you wake up like, I'm not going to make it, you won't. So it's like, it's kind of a decision,
That's
you know
real.
what I mean? That you make like this, man, this has to work. Like I'll be homeless. Like I'm not going to be homeless. So like,
that's real.
Man, that's crazy. Cause
that's a great message.
Like, I feel like that's when a lot of creativeness kicks in. You know what I mean? It's like things you probably wouldn't have thought of before when everything was just going smooth or like the world wasn't changing. You kind of like, you got to force yourself to get creative, So it's just dope hearing those type of stories and like those type of like, I guess, audibles, you know what I mean? I also wanted to ask, I mean, obviously, like we got a team in here. So how important would you say like it is to have a team and like kind of like people around you that are kind of like on the same mission as you?
I think it's vital. I think it's vital, and having the right team, man, super important. I definitely wouldn't be here without having a team and having strong people around me. Shout out to everybody on the team and everybody who's work with me to help get us here. I have a few different designers that I work with. My guy Connor is a huge asset to the shop. Last couple of years, kind of orchestrated a lot of projects that have been really successful. The homie Balducci on design, another guy, Andrew Ross, to name a few. I got a current in-house designer, Gabriel, that's like on the crew now.
That's dope.
My girl Jader, from the shop right now.
Yeah.
People, my team is my current team is fairly new, and then some of the team I had have moved on to other dope situations. A lot of people that have worked at the shop have been able to gain relationships with other avenues and like work on other dope stuff now.
That's dope.
Doing other design projects and working at different companies, but we all like still connected and all trying to find ways we can help each other still blossom.
The goal is growth, right? Overall,
absolutely.
Right. Now I want to touch on vintage. I want to touch on like nostalgia. Like this is a very, some would say it's niche, but I honestly feel like it's not, right? Because it's forever. It's like it's always going to be in style because history is just continuously being made. But just talk about that. Talk about the value of like the vintage space and what it means to you to be in it, and then like why you guys take so much pride in it.
Yeah, that's a good question. Man, I'm so thankful that I get to do something that I love to do 100% of the time, that I grew up doing, that it's like instilled through like my own father, my sister, and to be able to keep those dreams alive from like an early kid, really. And I'm doing this. I didn't even know like, when I started, like that vintage would be this big, you know what I mean? But it's like, it's a way to definitely preserve the heritage of, like I specifically like to preserve and think that I preserved like a certain era in the shop. If you come in, it's like almost like a museum. People like trip out on certain things. There's a few pieces like not for sale, you know what I mean? Like the Bismarcky doll on the wall. You see the boxes around. There's a few like just pieces that like are just timeless pieces. You know what I mean? An 87 Run DMC Adidas sweatshirt or something like that. Pieces always change, but it's like there's a story to each of those pieces, and it's like and people who were there during the time when those stories came out. It's exciting to see people talk about and recognize, but even young people, you know what I mean, like then they learn and they ask questions and you know what I mean, they get to learn about like what was before them and what was going on, and then you got people, I mean, as far as nostalgia, it's like everybody comes in, I wish I would have kept this, I wish I would have kept that, or it's like it resonates a certain childhood memory, that like your dad took you to a certain game, or, I had this jacket when we went to this game in '87, we saw this first pitch, and you know what I mean, just the stories are nonstop, you know what I mean, it's just so cool, man. It's just so cool to see like ongoing. Again, it's like one of my favorite things about I like just being in the shop and working in the shop because I get to talk to so many people from like around the world. You know what I mean? So like other countries here from different states, but it's like everybody's like, a lot of people really do trip. You know what I mean? Off the shop, it's kind of like a little like museum to some. It's like, man, where do you get all this stuff? You know what I mean?
And I bring that up because in fashion, things like certain trends and styles can be fleeting. Like one you just mentioned Fat Farm and like and we thought those were forever, but eventually those aren't in style anymore. But I think in your case, it's like it's always in style. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's timeless. You're selling timeless pieces, so it's gonna be appealing to somebody.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
So I just see a lot of value in it for sure.
Yeah. So like I guess if you could give like a general breakdown of like how the vintage game is, or like I guess just how it is, because like some of us from the outside looking in, we're like, damn, how they get this, or like how how does it keep on kind of going,
Yeah, the vintage game in general, I would say the last couple of years is going crazy. Like there's so many people in it, so many people doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Guys like at markets, there's people lined up waiting for like the stuff to unload out the truck. You got people lined up at thrift stores. I used to fill up carts like from like Olympia to Everett, like at thrift stores. Now I don't even go as much because it's like, I might not leave with much. It's like, because there's so many people involved in it. There's so many people doing it now. You know what I mean? 18-year-olds quitting their day job to hunt, to thrift full time. You got guys 8 hours a day at the bin. So I mean, there's a lot of avenues to it. You know what I mean? Like there's guys who their full-time hustle is just going to the outlet bins where like the clothing goes by weight for those that don't know. You know what I mean? You can
Yeah.
buy clothing by
okay.
weight, and you're digging through a bunch of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to be there like all day
Yeah.
usually, in order to find something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't personally do that just because I don't have the patience for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, I got some guys that do it and bring me stuff.
Yeah.
But personally, as far as like more to answer your question, like I really get stuff like everywhere and anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
I work on leads. I work on like with guys who buy storage lockers.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for so long. I do have a lot of resources.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, guys who just have stuff from out of state
Yeah.
who are sending me stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, man, I'm hearing stories about kids running into old barns and stuff right now. That's like the new thing they call bandals, like old barns. Where,
Yeah.
like looking for like denim, like old denim goes for like can go for thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? Very hard to find, but that's like, you know,
Yeah.
right. Like the last couple years, really like T-shirts have been like the thing. Like everybody's buying and selling T-shirts, and like the explosion of how much T-shirts go for. There was a write-up in Forbes magazine that like a shirt sold for like $7,000. That's like crazy.
That's
right?
wild.
It's like I'm not selling shirts for $7,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like that, it has happened. You know what I mean? But most of that was like, some people say like during COVID, people were getting money that they didn't have, and people were buying stuff on these online Instagram auctions.
Yeah.
And like spending a ton of money.
Yeah.
From the what was it? The unemployment.
Oh, the
PPP loans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. People were.
But no,
balling out.
that's like like the T-shirt craze kind of started when like COVID hit.
Yeah.
And there was like
Gotcha.
a certain amount of people just started like going ham on the Instagram lives, and some of those people are still doing it like consistently since then, and it's like blown up. They're doing really well. But I would say one of the things that like that I do is like I work, and because I've been doing it for so long, is I work a lot of different categories. I'm not like, I don't just do T-shirts. Like I sell a lot of pants in my shop. It's like when like certain like the trend is like to go one way, sometimes I'll like go another and try to look these other doors. You know what I mean? And like see what's next. It's just like not kind of follow like everything that's going along.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, man, because you know, for someone who's been doing it for as long as you've been doing it and at a high level, I know there's ups and downs, right? But like, how do you stay inspired, or like, are there moments where you can like recall where you're like, okay, I had to reignite the flame here? Because I feel like, you know, you see the music artists, like maybe this album didn't hit, but they weren't inspired, but then they get inspired. Like you see what Nas is doing right now. Like, I don't know what type of inspiration he caught, but this dude's going crazy. But like for you, like, how do you stay inspired, or how do you reignite the flame when you feel like it's kind of dying down? And I'm just saying this for longevity purposes, because I think a lot of people love what they do, and they want to do it for a long period of time. So
I mean, my first thought is just trying different things, just doing different things. You know what I mean? Like I get a little scared that like the vintage, there's so many people looking for it that it's going to disappear. I guess that when I think of like what you said, that makes me think of that. So I was like, let me focus on branding a little more, our own stuff. Let's work on like shop tees. Let's work on like our own merch. Just in case like vintage, we can't find it. But it's we keep finding it. It's always coming up. It's never gonna not be there. You know what I mean? But I'm just being honest. Like I've thought that before. Like, man, it's just gonna run out. Like everybody's getting it. Like corporate companies trying to get in on the business, opening up chain shops that sell vintage. You know what I mean? You got like Urban Outfitters, PacSun trying to have vintage racks in the shop. It's like that gets a little like, damn, what's going on? You know what I mean? But it's just like, I mean, it's just how do we reinvent ourselves? I guess when you think about like,
that's real.
You know, what are we gonna do next? You know what I mean? I guess if when like thinking about not being inspired or whatever. But I'm inspired by everything. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just continuous. Like whether it's like a negative, being inspired by negative things or positive things.
Yeah, that's real.
Something that's always like helped me is that like I've been able to turn a lot of like situations that weren't so great and looked at like how I could like turn that into a positive. And it you know ultimately has worked. that way for me.
I think the reinvention part is real. I was just talking to the homies about this, how I like to like study rappers who have longevity, and I look at their like discography, like their catalog, and I'm like,
Okay.
damn, every album feels like a different era of them. Same person, but just a different era. But they're like consciously trying to reinvent themselves with like whether it's a new sound, new message. You know what I mean? So I think we can mimic that in our own lives.
That's dope. I like
Yeah.
that. That's dope.
That's good. It's not easy to be. It's not easy to sustain longevity. Anything really.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, let me pick it up.
Go ahead.
Nah, man. I think honestly, you seem like the type that's very much about the work. But I am curious about like in your space, how important is collaboration? Because you have your brand, but there's other brands, there's other clothing companies that I'm sure you guys can learn from each other and build with each other. Is that something that you would encourage other clothing owners to do?
Absolutely. I've done more collabs this last year than ever before too, and have more like coming right now. It's a great way to share resources and customer base.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hopefully both sides is benefiting, like from my customers, and we're benefiting from their customers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just increased eyes on each brand. You know what I mean? And brand awareness, I think, is key, and one of the reasons why we should be doing collaborations. You know what I mean? And bringing up the city as a whole. You know what I mean? And
Talk about that.
And bringing up the city as a whole. One thing I don't know if you're aware of, but I'm one of the founders of Second Saturdays on the Block. It's like a monthly marketplace put on by local artists for local artists.
Yeah.
This was just finished the last year of that. I mean, the second season we did it. We only did it 2 years, so this year it goes May to October, mostly like a summer series.
Okay.
But that's a place where like we shut down the block. The whole block has vendors, local artists, marketplace, a full day of performances.
Okay.
So what do you thought when you mentioned collaboration? That kind of sparked a thought. It's definitely a place like for other people, for a platform for like new up and coming brands. Other vendors who like specifically might not have spaces to do that. Also, musicians.
Yeah.
And the money made from that actually goes to the artists and stabilizing spaces on the block where it's at. Like there's an art space where like if you can go and you don't have like art tools, you can go and use the tools that are there. And part of the the money made from on the block goes specifically to these spaces on the block. So I think another example of working together and collaborating, you know what I mean, with the city to bring all of us up. And then like another part of that is also like bringing more people to the existing businesses in the neighborhood that we're doing these projects in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To keep the money like right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that's super important. And I think it's like you said earlier in the show, being resourceful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Working with each other, and then kind of putting your heads together, and it's all gonna pour back in,
It will. It will.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Sure.
I also wanted to ask you, I know you probably ran through like thousands of pieces, but what were some of the ones for you that it was kind of like, damn, like it took you back to like certain moments in your life?
Man, excuse me. There's a lot, man. For me, it's like a specific era, like 87 and 88 is like kind of my favorite like time within like fashion and hip hop music, like the golden era of hip hop. Like a lot of pieces from that time frame is really like my favorite stuff. Like Troop line, this line called Troop. LL Cool J was wearing it, like he was like the sponsor of it when it came out. But like the shoes when they came out, like they were a little too much. Like I couldn't get them when I was young, and like I never had a pair when I was young, but I always wanted them. Yeah. And now like seeing these jackets, like when now I'm seeing these jackets, or when they come up, it's hard to come across one, but like those pieces are like super dope and like. Just bring me back to childhood, you know what I mean? Or like even certain like rap T-shirts. You know what I mean? I don't stop rapping Too Short T-shirt hung up in the shop, like not for sale.
Yeah.
It was like from like Too Short's first album.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like I living in the Bay and being there and hearing about like Too Short selling tapes in the park before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like all that like. Because I was there and remember it, is like definitely holds like a special place in my heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff that, you know what I mean, I think about. You know what I mean? I used to, and then I went through a time I was collecting polo, and had just dope, you know, polo pieces.
Mhm.
But yeah, like the excuse me. There's a specific polo piece that like Raekwon wore like on a Wu-Tang cover. This polo snow beach jacket. That was a piece that I had held on to for quite a while, and I rocked it a few times, and I ended up selling it.
That's such a real thing though, because like I remember Lil Wayne's Carter 2 album cover. He was rocking these suede all black Air Force Ones, and I literally worked my ass off to try to find them. Ended up finding them, ended up copping them. Like so I know. I just think there's something about that, you know, like
for sure.
You just want that, and you get it, and you're like, all right, I got it.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah, man.
That's dope.
Because I like what you said earlier about like it having a museum aspect. Because I feel like sometimes you could walk into a store and just look at everything. Even if you don't like buy anything, you're just like, damn, that was crazy when you walk out, you know? So, and yeah, I just wanted to know like from your perspective what was like some of the main pieces. But
yeah.
There's probably more. But yeah, those are just what came up.
Yeah, I think I feel like a lot of like what we've been discussing is obviously like hip hop, culture, fashion, right? And then like before the show, we were talking a little bit how you got a surprise visit from Drizzy Drake recently, who came to the store. But like I'm sure there's been others who came through the store to show love. But like, what is that like when people come through and show love that you probably weren't expecting to know you guys were on the block?
Yeah, it always feels good, and again, it's just like meeting so many people is always beautiful, man. To be able to talk to people from all walks of life and experience, you know, close up, just like a regular conversation. You know what I mean? And thankfully, sometimes it is people who are doing like amazing things. And being able to talk to them, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it is really dope. Yeah, man. A lot of people have came through. Probably people who were like celebrities I didn't even know it. You know what I mean? There's like so many because the venues are over there. A lot of people stop in. There's been a lot of different people. But yeah, the Drake situation was dope. That was recently. Came through super humble, copped a bunch of stuff.
I just think it's good to have like kind of hold space for moments like that, even for the city, you know, like sometimes people want to come through and like really tap in with the city, tap in with the culture, and like, you know, for you guys to have a space for that, whether it be fashion or culture. I think it's important for every city to have that.
It really is. And there's people even from the neighborhood, you know what I mean, like from around who just know that they can come in and chop it up, hang out for a while, and that, you know what I mean. It's important that we have a safe space for people, you know what I mean, to come in.
Definitely. Man, Rio, you've been dropping a lot of gems, bro, and you seem like the type that's like really about his business and kind of just, you know, moving and grooving. But I'm curious about, for something like, again, the term longevity has been coming up a lot, and I don't think that's something to kind of like just kind of brush off. I think that is something to celebrate and really you know, wear pridefully. But for you, if you can just kind of look back, right? Let's go back to when you took over Throwbacks Northwest, or even maybe before that. Like, if you can talk to your younger self and tell them something, like, what would you say to that guy? What would you say to him? Knowing all that you know now, but like at that time, if you could say something, what would you tell that guy?
That's a great question. I gotta think about that for a second. I would say be persistent. I would say be persistent, be consistent, write out a plan, get a plan going from as soon as you can, you know what I mean? for those, I mean, for anybody coming up, I would say like if you're into something, whether it's a brand, whether it's something else, study that, study what you're into, like as much as possible. I would tell myself to study as much as possible what I was into and study those who are successful, because those who are successful leave clues for us to utilize. You know what I mean? And that's something that I didn't learn as much as I probably could have at a younger age until maybe like 5 to 7 years ago. You know what I mean? I started learning like about eliminating self-doubt, like you know, blame. I would tell my younger self to not blame my parents for not doing this or somebody. You know what I mean? Because a lot of us will come up with our own obstacles. And when I found out that my only competition was myself, that's when I started to excel and started to hit corners a little more easier. I was like, okay, this is how this is. I'm starting to get some traction. You know what I mean?
That's good.
Like what can we do now? Okay, we got this. You know what I mean? But like it's always like it took you know what I mean? It took me a minute. It was a long you know journey to figure that out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to go through that journey, but some of us do. You know what I mean? So I would say like, man, listen more too.
Yeah.
Like a lot of young people sometimes don't want to listen. They want to talk. You know what I mean? A lot you can learn from just listening. To anybody probably in this room here got something of that's valid, that has knowledge. You know what I mean? Every single person here in the room, I'm almost positive. I mean, I am positive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everybody got game. Know that the game can come from anywhere.
Facts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's another thing I would say. Like sometimes we think like just by looking at someone's Instagram, that person has game, and you look at another person's Instagram and they don't got like the same followers, but you really don't know their story. You really don't know what they started.
Yeah.
So it's just like be aware, the level of awareness, and know that like the wisdom can come from anywhere, in any place at any time.
That's a gem.
Yeah, you're right about that, man. Because like I see like a lot of people that like let age be a barrier. Like they won't listen to people that's younger or like whatever. And then it's like, man, you can get the game from people they're like in it right now, you know? So it's like,
for sure.
So I like that you brought that up, bro.
Yeah.
Like I learned a lot from young people.
Yeah,
my son's 19, you know what I mean? I'm learning from him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's generational, man. We got to connect the generations.
Yeah, for real, man.
And pass the knowledge back and forth. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's real. That's good stuff, bro.
Thank you, man.
Those are some gems right there.
Yeah.
Rio. So I just want to ask this question because I always ask every guest this question because I think it's important and I think we all are excited about what's ahead. But for you in particular, when you just think about the future, and it doesn't even have to be super specific, but what excites you for the future, like for you?
Other locations, bigger collaborations, working with some other brands, having some new accounts in the shop with some bigger brands. Those type of things, giving platforms for people to do dope shit, really. In the last couple years, it's like that has been something that's really rewarding, is putting other people on and giving space to give opportunities for others to do their thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm working on like passing, you know, hopefully I can pass on the torch to my son and carry on this legacy and have it live on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that, man.
Yeah.
We've been working consistently. We've done like a bunch of collaborations this last year. Got more lined up, dropping here soon.
Okay.
Black Friday, we'll have a drop with Alive and Well. That's one that we've been working on for quite a while. Okay. And I'd always wanted to work with those guys from like way back when they had goods. I don't know if you're familiar, but one of the longest running streetwear shops. So it's like, it's dope to like be able to work with like people and shops that like you've been fans of for like forever. You know what I mean?
And full circle
like,
moments kind of.
Like, yeah, exactly. Full circle moments.
That's dope.
You got something with Mediums coming up. I know you had them on here one time.
Yeah. Shout out our boys, man.
Yeah.
Shout out Roger and Caesar, man.
Yeah,
good people.
Sure.
Yeah, man. It's nothing but up, I feel like.
So future's on the up and up. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, up and up. Exactly.
That's dope. Also, where can people find Throwbacks Northwest like online, pretty much your online presence if they want to tap in like to also the store and everything like that.
Yep. Yeah, for those who don't know, we're in the heart of Capitol Hill, 11th and East Pike Street. Throwbacks NW on Instagram. The website's throwbacksnw.com. We're on Twitter, TikTok, all that. Just Throwbacks NW. Yeah. Before I go, I did bring you guys actually a little gift.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Look at you, surprised.
Man.
Look at you. His eyes got big. Yo, I love when people bring gifts, man. Ain't too many of them.
Ain't too many.
If y'all listening, y'all come up here. Make sure you bring some.
This actually not. We haven't even dropped this. This is like a Seahawks inspired tee. I just got these today.
Oh, that's hard.
Wow.
I was like, let me just bless these guys. You know
That's
what I mean?
hard.
Wow.
But I got a large and an XL.
Okay.
If those sizes don't work, I could get you the right size.
XL is actually my size.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's good.
okay.
I'll make
That
the
works.
large work.
Man, we
Okay,
appreciate
this
that.
The XL.
We appreciate that, bro.
Yep.
Thank you.
Man, bro.
Man, it's the least I could do. No, I appreciate
That
cats
is
who like
fire.
take the time. You know what I mean? And
This is clean, bro.
showed love. I gotta show love back, man.
And then this was one of your designers that you mentioned?
Yeah, this one was Andrew Ross. He's been doing a lot of dope stuff for a while. Like we had some very successful pieces that were going crazy. He's done a good amount of those. Yeah, like the Sue Bird T-shirt we did.
I saw that one.
The
That
J
was-
Rod shirts. He did those. Yeah, my guy Andrew Ross, Fuji Market is his brand. He's in SF now.
That's hard, man. We appreciate that.
Oh man, appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
real.
y'all, man.
Well-
Y'all definitely doing your thing too, man.
Thank you, man. So we always ask every guest this question before we wrap things up. So
Okay.
if you can, my brother, what's one word to describe what keeps you on the up and up and why?
That'd be love.
Mm.
Sir.
I do it for the love. That's what it is. You know what I mean? Love what I do. Love the people that I get to meet. And essentially, I feel like that's all we're here for.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Is love. So,
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without that, I'm not sure what it would be.
That's real.
It's real, man.
No, that's real. I love that one. That's a good one.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man.
That's a good one, man. Nah, Rio, man, we appreciate you for doing the work you're doing, man. It's
Thank you,
important.
man.
It's important work. My thing is like I feel like everybody has a contribution to make, and I feel like you're making yours. We're obviously making ours, and for those listening and watching, make sure you make yours. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. We wish you much success moving forward. Super excited for what's to come.
Thank you, man.
I'm excited, and you got support with us here at the UpNUp always, man.
Appreciate
man.
that so much. Yeah, it was
Always,
a pleasure,
bro.
pleasure chopping it up with you guys,
Definitely, man.
I love
Yeah.
what you guys are doing too, man.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you. And with that being said, I think it's safe to say Rio Estolas and Throwbacks Northwest are officially members of the UpNUp.
Yeah.
Give it up. Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you,
Thank
man.
you, bro.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Much love. Thank you.
To continue supporting the podcast and the entire UpNUp movement, be sure to rate, review, like, and subscribe.
As well as follow us at _ the UpNUp on all social media platforms to stay connected with everything the UpNUp has coming your way.
Thanks for listening, and until the next one.
Keep it on the up and up.